They doubted you because they measured you by who you were, not by who you were becoming. They saw your current state and assumed it was permanent. They saw your failures and decided that was your ceiling. They saw you struggle and concluded you weren't capable. They judged you in a moment and sentenced you to mediocrity without appeal. And you felt it. Every dismissive look, every sarcastic comment. Every time someone laughed when you mentioned your goals. Every time someone changed the subject when you talked about your dreams. Every time someone said be realistic when you said where you were going. Stay, because this video will hit harder later. You were counted out early. Maybe it was your background, your circumstances, your past failures, your lack of credentials, your age, your appearance. Something about you didn't fit their template for success, so they dismissed you. They didn't see potential. They saw limitation. They didn't see possibility. They saw problems. And they told you, directly, or through their silence, through their lack of support, through their absence when you needed belief, through their skepticism when you needed encouragement. You were underestimated before you even started. They ignored you, treated you like you were invisible, like your ambitions were cute but unrealistic, like your effort was admirable but pointless. They smiled politely when you talked about your goals, but you could see it in their eyes. They didn't believe you. They thought you were delusional, naive, overestimating yourself. They've seen people like you before. People who talked big and delivered small. People who started strong and quit weak. And they assumed you were just another one. They judged you early, based on incomplete information, based on who you used to be, based on one conversation. One impression, one moment, and they formed an opinion, a limiting one, and they treated that opinion as fact. They boxed you into their perception and expected you to stay there. They labeled you, categorized you, decided your potential without ever seeing your discipline, your work ethic, your commitment. They judged the cover and never opened the book. People doubt others to protect their own limits. That's the truth. When someone doubts you, they're not making a statement about your capability. They're making a statement about theirs. They're saying, I couldn't do that, so you can't either. I don't have that discipline, so you don't either. I gave up, so you will too. Their doubt is projection. It's them looking at your ambition and seeing their own failure, seeing their own quit, seeing their own lack of commitment. And they can't separate your potential from their limitations. They mock effort because effort makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them that they're not trying, that they chose comfort over challenge, that they settled. So when they see you grinding, training, working, building, it confronts them. It shows them what they could be doing but aren't. And instead of being inspired, they mock. They call you obsessed, extra, too much. Because if they can convince you to stop, they can convince themselves that quitting was the right choice. They fear discipline, because discipline exposes their excuses. Every day you show up, you prove their "I don't have time" is a lie. Every day you execute, you prove their "I'm too tired" is a choice. Every day you stay consistent, you prove their "I'll start Monday" is procrastination. Your discipline is a mirror, and they don't like what they see in it. So they try to break your mirror by breaking your resolve, by doubting, by mocking, by dismissing. Their doubt is not about you, it's about them. This is where it shifted. Right here. You stopped explaining. You stopped defending your decisions. You stopped trying to make them understand. You stopped seeking permission. Stopped needing validation. Stopped caring if they believed. Because you realized something. Their belief is irrelevant. Their doubt is noise. Their opinion doesn't build anything. Your action does. So you went quiet. Not in defeat, in strategy. You stopped talking about what you were going to do and started doing it in silence. Silence became your power. You disappeared from conversations about your goals. You stopped updating people on your progress. You stopped posting every small win. You went dark. Not because you quit, because you got serious. And serious people don't need an audience. They need focus. They need discipline. They need results. So you removed the distraction of explanation and replaced it with the clarity of execution. You trained when no one was watching. In the early morning. In the late night. In the hours people spend scrolling, you were building, alone. No witnesses, no cheerleaders, no validation. Just work, just repetition. Just the daily grind of becoming someone different. And it was lonely. It was thankless. It was boring. But it was effective. And effective beats exciting when you're building something real. You improved when no one clapped. No one knew you were getting better. No one saw the progress. No one celebrated the small wins. But you saw them. You tracked them. You measured them. And that was enough. You didn't need external applause. You validated yourself through improvement, through showing up, through consistency, through becoming better than you were yesterday. You fixed flaws instead of complaining about them. You saw your weaknesses and worked on them. You saw your gaps and filled them. You saw your limitations and pushed them. You didn't make excuses. You made adjustments. You didn't blame circumstances. You adapted to them. You took full responsibility for your development and stopped waiting for perfect conditions to grow. Pain became routine. The burn, the fatigue, the discomfort. You stopped avoiding it and started expecting it. It became normal, part of the process. Not something to fear, but something to embrace. Because pain meant you were pushing boundaries. Pain meant you were in territory you'd never been in before. Pain meant growth. So you stopped running from it and started running toward it. Motivation faded, like it always does. The initial excitement wore off. The hype died down, the emotion disappeared, and you were left with just the work. And that's when most people quit, when motivation leaves. But not you. You understood that motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. Motivation starts things. Discipline finishes them. So when motivation left, discipline stayed. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. It just executes. You showed up tired. Every part of you wanted to rest. Your body begged for sleep. Your mind begged for ease. But you showed up anyway. Not because you wanted to, because you decided to. And decisions are stronger than feelings. You trained tired. You worked exhausted. You executed empty. And that's where real strength forms. Not when you feel good. When you feel broken and refuse to act broken. You showed up angry. Frustrated with progress, mad at setbacks, annoyed with slow results. But you showed up. You channeled that anger into effort, into reps, into work. You didn't let emotion stop you. You used it as fuel. And the discipline to show up regardless of mood, that's mastery. You showed up uninspired, flat, no fire, no passion, no excitement, just obligation, just commitment, just the standard you set for yourself. And you honored it, even when it felt meaningless. Even when it felt pointless. Even when it felt like nothing was happening. You showed up. And those days... those are the days that separate who you're becoming from who you used to be. No friends in this phase. They didn't understand. They thought you were changing, becoming distant, obsessed. And they were right. You were changing. You were becoming someone who prioritizes growth over comfort. Someone who chooses discipline over distraction. Someone who values progress over popularity. And that required distance, not from malice, from focus. No shortcuts available. Just the long way, the hard way, the boring way, the repetitive way. The only way that actually works. You didn't look for hacks. You didn't search for secrets. You just did the work, day after day, week after week, month after month, and the work compounded into something undeniable. Just work now. That's all that exists. The task, the rep, the hour, the day, one after another. No drama, no story, no emotion, just execution, just consistency, just the relentless pursuit of becoming better. And that simplicity is power. Just focus on what matters, on what moves the needle, on what builds the result. Everything else is noise. Everything else is distraction. Everything else is irrelevant. You've become ruthlessly focused, and focused people don't get lost. They just get closer. You stopped talking about it. Stopped defending yourself. Stopped arguing with doubters. Stopped explaining your process. Stopped justifying your choices. You went completely silent because you realized talking is energy, and you'd rather spend that energy building than explaining. You stopped proving with words. Words are cheap. Anyone can talk, anyone can promise, anyone can declare intentions, but execution, that's rare, that's valuable, that's proof. So you stopped making claims and started producing evidence. Results began forming, slowly, quietly, invisibly at first, but they were there. Your body was changing. Your skills were sharpening, your mind was strengthening, your discipline was solidifying, and you were the only one who saw it, because you were the only one looking, and that was enough. When results finally showed, you didn't celebrate loudly, you didn't gloat. You didn't post screenshots. You didn't rub it in anyone's face. You just nodded. Quiet acknowledgement. You knew this was coming because you put in the work, and work produces results. That's law. You didn't explain how you did it. People asked. You kept it vague because explaining gives away the power, the mystery, the assumption that you're just different. Let them think it's talent. Let them think it's luck. Let them think it's genetics. You know it was discipline. You know it was consistency. You know it was showing up when they were sleeping. But you don't need them to know. You just need the results. You let reality speak. Your transformation is the argument. Your discipline is the evidence. Your results are the proof. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to defend your methods. The outcome defends itself. And that's the loudest statement you can make. They see you now differently, not because you told them to, because they have to. The evidence is undeniable. The transformation is obvious. The discipline is visible. They can't ignore it anymore. They can't dismiss it anymore. They can't doubt it anymore. And some will congratulate you. Some will ask how. Some will pretend they always believed. But you remember who was there. You remember who doubted. You remember who dismissed you. And you don't need their validation now either. You prove them wrong, not by arguing, by becoming, not by talking, by building, not by defending, by executing. You took every doubt and turned it into fuel, every dismissal and turned it into determination, every mockery and turned it into motivation, and you built something they said was impossible, not because you're special, because you refuse to stop. This is who you are now, not someone who needs belief. Someone who creates results. Not someone who talks about goals. Someone who achieves them. Not someone who promises. Someone who delivers. You've become proof. Walking evidence. Living testimony that discipline beats doubt every single time. Comment silent grind if you're done explaining yourself.